Feel free to interrupt with any comments or questions. And if you like to come a little closer, that would be fine with me. I feel kind of like I should be sitting there and you should be sitting there and we can discuss because the our topic tonight is um, Shiva's embrace of love. And why I picked this topic because I'm taking it from Swami Vivekananda's Shiva Stotram. Um, Perhaps are most of you familiar? Do most of you know that Swami Vivekananda wrote some Sanskrit hymns? We know that he wrote these beautiful hymns which we just sang, the Khandana Bhava Bandhana on Sri Ramakrishna, and then the Om Ring Ritang also on Sri Ramakrishna. Of course, the second is Sanskrit. First is Bengali, but a Sanskritized Bengali. So most of the words are Sanskrit. So most Sanskrit knowing people can follow that hymn also. But he also wrote some beautiful hymns on. He wrote two hymns, one on Divine Mother, called known as the Amba Stotram, and one on Shiva, which is called the Shiva Stotram. And it's a short stotram, 6 verses, and the Sanskrit is a little difficult, and the English translation is not very satisfying. But in this, he describes Shiva as of the very nature of love, of supreme love. And that is remarkable because ordinarily, at least when I think of Shiva, I think of the austere yogi sitting in the Himalayas, right? Who is beyond this world, beyond everything, immersed in the deepest meditation, immersed in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Or think of him as dancing the dance of cosmic destruction, no? But here Swamiji describes him as love, the very embodiment of infinite love. So that is something remarkable about this hymn. And when did he write these hymns? It's most likely I'm guessing, we don't know, it's not dated, but I'm guessing he wrote it in November or December of 1898. This was after he had gone to the West in 1893 and had his triumphant march all over this country and also Europe and England, and then had a hero's return to India, and then in 1897, and then in 1898, he made a pilgrimage to Kashmir. And there, he went first to Amarnath, the great mountain pilgrimage to the Lord Shiva, manifest in a lingam, an emblem of pure ice, pure white ice, which appears every year in the high Himalayas in an enormous cave. And it's a tremendous pilgrimage requiring several days of, especially in those days, requiring several days of walking and camping, and then the next night's camp and the next night's camp. And so several days of walking through the high Himalayas to reach this mountain shrine where there is just pure devotion, actually. Swami Vivekananda was so pleased with it because there's no business people who are going up there. At most of the major pilgrimage sites, as you know, there's on the one hand this tremendous power, the spiritual power. We're stunned and we're lifted up into the presence of the divine in these very powerful places. And at the same time, there are a lot of people whose hearts may not be open to that, but who see a business opportunity. And they come to these great places of pilgrimage to sell their wares or to take advantage of unsuspecting pilgrims. So you have this interesting, it's like the balance has to be equal. You have this tremendous spirituality, so you also have to be careful in places of pilgrimage that your pocket doesn't get picked and all these things like that. Not so at Amarnath. At the Amarnath cave, there's no business. It's all devotion. And Swami Vivekananda had a tremendously powerful experience there. We don't know what the nature of that experience was. When he entered the cave, he was there just a few minutes. He bowed down at one end of the cave, he bowed down at the other end of the cave, and then he withdrew. And afterwards, he said he had to restrain himself lest he swoon away, or so intense was the experience. And he revealed to his intimate disciples that he had received the gift from Amarnath Ji. He had received the gift of Amar, not to die and not to leave the body until he himself willed to do so. And of course, we know that that is what happened 4 years later on 4th of July at Belur Math. So he was full of Shiva, of course. And then, as we know, his attention turned to Divine Mother. And he went to Kshiya Bhavani, and there he heard the voice of Divine Mother. And so then he was full of Mother, and he was just a child of Divine Mother. So I feel that this hymn must reflect also something of the experience he had tasted at Amarnath, the realization he had attained at Amarnath. So how many of you are familiar with this hymn? Oh, so just you don't know this hymn. Well, great. It's in. We should have brought some. I should have brought some sheets to pass out. I didn't even think of it. Let me chant the first verse, and then we'll look at the first. We'll look at it verse by verse. This beautiful hymn, and I'm going to just make sure I have the right. Oh, so you recorded his singing of it? Oh, great. Uh-huh. Yes. Okay, let me just we'll start with Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Nikhila Bhuvana Janma Sthema Bhanga Praruha Akalita Mahimanaha Kalpitaya Tratasmin Suvimala Gaganabhi Isha samsthepyanishe Mama bhavatu bhavesmin Bhasuro bhavabandha Mama bhavatu bhavesmin Bhasuro bhavabandha. All right. So the first verse actually is a prayer to one's own mind, as it were, or a prayer. We'll start with the fourth line of the verse. Mama bhavatu bhavesmin bhasuro bhavabandha. It's an interesting way of writing it. This actually, we can understand it as meaning, may my burning devotion, may my flaming devotion, my shining devotion be attached, be firmly fixed on Shiva. And that's this bhava bandhaha. Bandhaha means that connection, that bondage, that fixing, that tying. And bhava is, as we know, that feeling, that tremendous feeling, that love. Mama bhavatu, may my bhavesmin, in this life of mine, may I have that intense, one-pointed devotion to Shiva. This bhasura, that means like flaming or burning or shining, luminous. We can call it luminous. My luminous devotion. And then it goes, describes what is the nature of that Shiva. Nikhila Bhuvana, this entire cosmos, Janma, birth, is born, it arises. Sthema, it is preserved. Bhanga, it is again destroyed, dissolved. Praroha, it grows. So actually, it's a little bit, praroha is the growth. So it's from this birth, manifestation of this cosmos, and it grows, and it is preserved for some time, and then again it dissolves. And what happens? Akalita mahimanaha, uncountable, innumerable glories arise, kalpita arise, yatra tasmin, in whom? In Shiva, in that Shiva, in whom arise all the innumerable glories with the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the cosmos, who is Suvimala, so pure, utterly pure, Gaganabhi, as the sky, pure as the sky without any clouds in it. And Isha Samste Apyanishe, who is on the one hand the Lord of all, and he is also Anisha. He has no Lord. He has no Lord over himself. He is beyond even the concept of lordship, as it were. So there are several translations which have been composed on it. This one is from our dear Swami Atmarupananji. Om Namah Shivaya, in whom are assumed innumerable glories, springing forth with the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the cosmos, who is utterly pure as the unclouded sky, established in lordship of all, yet utterly beyond all lordship. May my being be bound to him in firm and flaming love. And I'd like to just read, because it's very poetic also, Swami Ashokananda's translation. Though he takes some liberties, he leaves out creation, sustenance, and dissolution. But it's a beautiful translation. He writes he puts it this way: may my luminous love fasten firm to him, to Shiva, in whom arise visions of glories immeasurable. May my luminous love cling to him who is utterly pure like the sky, who is Lord of all, having no Lord over himself. One thing that strikes me about the Hindu bhakti tradition in general is the emphasis is on cultivating love for God. That's the emphasis. We try to love God more in the bhakti path. And in contrast, we can contrast it with the Christian bhakti path. In Christianity, very oftentimes the emphasis seems to be, or there's more of an emphasis on, you know what? God loves you. And in Hinduism, we don't have Hindu missionaries going around saying, hey, everybody, Shiva loves you. we say rather, brothers, come and love Shiva. Or brothers, come and love Krishna. Sisters, love the Lord, love the Divine Mother. But this side of actually, God also loves us, that we don't emphasize so much. And that's what's interesting about this hymn. It starts there. May I have that kind of intense love for Shiva. But now let's look at the second verse, and I'll chant it. Nihata nikhila mohe dhishata yatra rudha prakatita para premna yo mahadeva sangya ashitila parirambha prema rupasya yasya pranayati hridhi vishvam vyajamatram vibhutvam Pranayatirdvishwam Vyajamatram Vibhutvam. So let's see. This verse, we have this Nihata Nikhila Mohe. Nikhila, again, the same word, Nikhila Mohe, all that delusion, that tremendous mass of delusion. Nihita is, Nihata is destroyed. Nihata Nikhila Mohe Adhishata Yatra Rudha. Adhishata, the lordship, where his lordship is established. Yatra, where Rudha established, that where his lordship is established, the delusion goes. When we get the vision of the divine, when we come into the presence of the divine, all our delusion, our mistaken ideas, they evaporate. And prakatita parapremna yo mahadeva sanya. Prakatita is manifested. What is he manifesting? Para prema. But here it's para premna, by manifesting that supreme love. And he is therefore Mahadeva Sangyaha. Sangyaha means known. He is known as Mahadeva. He is the great God. He's not just a Deva, he's the Mahadeva. Why? Because he manifests this Paraprema. And this is the line, the beautiful line. Ashitila Parirambaha. Ashitila means unwavering, firm. Ashitila Parirambha, embrace. The firm embrace, the unwavering embrace of him, Yasya, who is Prema Rupasya. He is the very form of prema, of love, the very embodiment of love, very manifestation of love. So he is embracing us with that infinite love, granting us that firm embrace of love. And what happens when we taste that infinite love? Pranayati, we are led in the heart, Riddhi Vishwam, this universe. We are led to understand that this universe, Vishwam, is Vyaja Matram. It is Matram, it is merely Vyaja, which means a semblance, or the word can even mean a deception, a pretext. And here the Sanskrit is a little difficult. Where the last word is vibhutvam, that very, it can mean lordship. It can also mean just the fact of being everywhere, all-pervadingness. And there are two different ways of translating it, and the different translations we have translated in different ways. In one, that also, even that lordship is found to be just a semblance. On the other way of interpreting it, when we receive that infinite embrace of Shiva's love, we feel that on the one hand, yes, this world is but a passing show, as it were, and we touch the infinity of our being, of true being, true existence. And I like that interpretation. So on the one hand, vibhutvam, we realize vibhutvam, the infinity of being, and at the same time, we also realize all the quarrels that we have in this world, all the difficulties, they're just a passing show, vyaja matram, when we taste that infinite love. So love is that great power which lifts us above all this trouble, all this difficulty. We get so caught up in it. The infinite embrace of Shiva's love transports us beyond that to infinite being itself. Let me read the two I can read all three. We have the translation from Complete Works of Vivekananda also, which is not exactly bad, but the translators in those days, well, I think it's because Sanskrit poetry, as you know, observes meter. It has to observe a certain rhythm, and it's called a chanda. And this hymn, each line follows the same rhythm of alternating short and long syllables. So if you listen to this, it goes Nikhila Bhuvana. That's 6 short syllables. Nikhila Bhuvana Mohe Dhi. Followed by 3 long syllables. Nikhila Bhuvana. Sorry, I'm mixing the two lines. Nikhila Bhuvana Janma Ste Mabhanga Praroha. And then it follows short followed with 2 long, short followed with 2 long. So there are 15 syllables in the line, and it follows this meter exactly. And this one is called Malini, this meter, and it's used typically for devotional hymns. So it like that. That's how each line follows that rhythm. So the translators of Swamiji's poems in the Complete Works decided that they would put them into English meter. And so each line is 10 syllables exactly, with a few exceptions. So it's a little awkward because they actually, it's amazing they were able to do it. But this one reads, in whom lordship is ever established, who causes annihilation of delusion, whose most surpassing love made manifest has crowned him with a name above all names, the name of Mahadeva, the great God, whose warm embrace of love personified displays within man's heart that all power is but a semblance and a passing show. All right, now we'll go to Swami Atmarupananda's translation. His lordship lies in the conquest of delusion. He, known as Mahadeva for his supreme yet manifest love, love personified, his warm embrace reveals in the heart that all glory is hollow. And Swami Ashokananda, who is really, he was a poet himself, so he's turning it more poetically, but maybe taking more liberties. He brings in again the last line of the first verse here. He translates this verse as, may my luminous devotion be attached to him by whom all delusion is destroyed, in whom lordship is forever existent. May it be attached to him who, manifesting surpassing love, is named the great God. The firm embrace of him, love itself, reveals within the heart the infinity of being, the falseness of the worlds. So that's the first 2 verses of this powerful hymn. I guess you all are sitting very quietly. Any comments, questions so far? Yeah. Maybe you shouldn't go too much into the word by word then, huh? Yes. Okay. We won't. I'll try to skip the too much of the analysis of the words. Okay, let's go to the third. Oh, and Binky had a. That was, yes, one of our translations, that all glory is hollow. Well, Christianity also has the idea of loving God. Certainly, the commandment is to love God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind and whatever it is. But I find the emphasis, say, you don't hear Hindus typically saying, hey, brother, cheer up, God loves you, you know? That's a kind of a Christian mood. Christians, one of the ways they spread the gospel of Jesus is to remind people, hey, God loves you. I remember I was in a Home Depot in Los Angeles, and a lady, Korean lady, I think, she looked at me and she said, Jesus loves you. And I said, yes, and he loves you too. She was so shocked. I think she was thinking there was going to be some kind of fight or something because she's trying to spread the gospel, or I don't know what. Anyhow, she was taken aback. This idea that when we cultivate love for God, gradually we approach the divine, as it were, and we start to feel that it's a reciprocal relationship. It's not a one-way relationship. But the emphasis I find on the bhakti path is cultivating more love. The more, how much can I love God? And when we taste that real love for God, it brings tremendous, it's its own reward, actually. And the emphasis not on seeking the love of God, right? Do you agree with me? You don't agree with me. You're right. Yeah, it's not exactly to have a position. It's more to have an experience. My experience, at least, of Hinduism of bhakti is that the emphasis is on cultivating love for God. When we read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, how does he teach us to pray? Again and again, he prays by demonstration. For what? For love of God, that's untouched by any selfish desire. Love for the sake of love alone. No matter who he's praying to, that's always the prayer. May I have pure love for you. I don't want anything else. Just grant me that pure love for your lotus feet, O Lord, or O Divine Mother. And there are two of the most well-known prayers are that prayer where he says, Mother, I throw myself on thy mercy. I take shelter at thy hallowed feet. I don't want creature comforts. I don't crave name and fame. I don't seek any occult powers. Mother, grant me only that I may have pure love for thee, a love unsmitten by desire, untainted by any selfish ends, a love craved by the devotee for the sake of love alone. So that's the prayer to Divine Mother. The other prayer, he several times he mentions how, you probably remember from Gospel, he says, I prayed to the Divine Mother only for love. I said, Mother, here is your dharma, here is your adharma. Take them both and grant me only pure love for thee. Here is thy virtue, here is thy vice. Take them both, Mother, and grant me only pure love for thee. And then finally he says, but I couldn't say, here is thy truth and here is thy untruth. Because if I gave up both truth and untruth, then how could my prayer be true? So he wasn't willing to give up truth, but everything else he gave up and offered with flowers at Divine Mother's feet and said, Mother, all I want is pure love. And he would relate that prayer to the devotees as a guidance for us, what to pray for. Pray for love, that we may have love. But I also find that the more we are able to love God, the more we feel also that there is a reciprocal effect. Sri Ramakrishna himself said, if you take one step towards God, God comes with 10 steps towards us. So as we approach the divine is also approaching us. And the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna used to say how much he loved them. They thought they knew what love was when they reflected on their parents' love, especially their mother's love. And then they came to Sri Ramakrishna and found that his love is much greater. In fact, many of them felt that, I know he loves everyone, but I feel like he loves me best. And all of them felt that. How could that be? How could he love each person best? Because he is loving not the individual, he's loving the divine which he sees shining in every heart. So his love is equal. His love is always flowing towards God, towards Divine Mother. And so he sees Divine Mother in every heart. So every being receives that tremendous love. So that's just something that strikes me, that often the emphasis, at least in sadhana, in spiritual practice, is on cultivating our love. But we also can remember, and a hymn like this helps us remember, that the divine is love, that God is love, Divine Mother is infinite love, Shiva is infinite love. And as we approach the divine, as we purify our minds and hearts, and through prayer and meditation and devotion and service, we try to approach the divine, we start not only to feel more love for the divine, we also can feel that infinite embrace of love. And that can be such a healing and overwhelmingly beautiful experience, to taste the touch of the love of God. So it's then, and of course, Vivekananda points out that in the culmination of that interplay between the devotee and the divine, the lover, love, and the beloved become one. So that's a beautiful expression. Did someone else had a Avoida? Were you going to say something? Were you going to say something? No. I thought, okay. All right, let's read the third verse. Third verse is curious because it almost seems like an outlier. Because in the third verse, all right, let me first read a translation, one, and then I'll chant it, and then we'll discuss it further. So here's the Aparupananda's translation. Atmarupamji. The tempest of past samskaras blows, disorienting even the strong, raising wave after wave in the mind, which trembles between the dual sense, I and thou. That mind, so utterly deficient, I salute, centered now in Shiva. Vahati vipulavata purva samskara rupa pramatati balavrindam ghurnite vormimala prachalati khalu yugmam yushmadasmat pratitam ativikalitaroopam naumi chittam shivastham. Ativikalitaroopam naumi chittam shivastham. So this verse, it also mystifies me a little. Here, suddenly he's talking about our minds, which in our minds, in the chitta, in the mind stuff, tremendous wave after wave after wave is coming, stirred up by a tremendous tempest, as it were, a huge wind. Vipula vata, vata is wind, right? So vipula vata, tremendous wind is blowing. And what is that wind? It is our purva samskaras, are the tendencies that we have in us from all our past thoughts and actions, not only in this life, but in how many previous lifetimes. These waves are coming again and again, and even the strong get disoriented. And then the mind, it is wavering, as it were, between these two senses of there's I and thou, I and thou. And yet, when that mind becomes Shivastham, established in Shiva, then naturally it is the poet salutes that mind, that chitta, which is centered in Shiva. It is so restless, and yet now it is centered in Shiva. Now its support is Shiva, and the poet salutes it. So it's as if, on the one hand, is describing all of our condition, this restlessness, how our past tendencies hidden deep within bring this constant disturbance of mind. And yet, if we can bring our mind to be established in the infinite, which is Shiva, then that mind itself we salute, that chitta itself. Let me read Swami Ashokananda's translation. I salute mind, which has its support in Shiva, but has lost its pristine perfection and assumed misshapen forms. I salute mind, in which all the impresses of the past are blowing like a furious tempest, stirring up energies violently, like waters lashed into furious waves, in which flows ceaselessly the dual current of the sense of I and thou. Yushmad asmat pratitam. Yushmad asmat, I and thou. The complete works translation of this last line. The dual consciousness of I and thou plays on. I salute that mind unstable, centered in Shiva, the abode of calm. So now, the fourth verse, finally, everything settles down. After all those waves, then everything dissolves into the one. And I'll read Atmarupanandaji's translation, where the sense of cause and effect and purified thoughts in countless forms dissolve into one reality, where there is no within nor without, the wind of modification having been stilled. Ah, Hara, the sensation of mental modifications himself is the one whom I worship. Janaka janita bhavo vrittaya samskritascha aganana bahurupo yatra eko yathartha shamitab kritivate yatra nam tar bahishcha tamaharamide chitta vrittir nirodham tamaharamide chitta vrittir nirodham. I'll read Swami Ashokananda's translation. I worship Shiva, in whom ideas of cause and effect, thoughts and impresses, and countless varied forms become the real one. I worship him, in whom, when the wind of change is calmed, there is neither within nor without. I worship him, who is the perfect stillness of the mind. This is Tam ahaha. That ahaha is that there's just an expression of joy or of ecstasy. Tam ahaha haram. That hara. Tam, that ahaha. Oh ahaha. Tam haram ide. Ide is from that verb id, to praise, to worship. I sing the glories of that hara, who is the perfect stillness of the mind. Chitta vrittir nirodham, which is from Yoga Sutra. That itself is Shiva, and I praise. So there's an expression of ecstasy as everything merges into one. This yatra eko yathartha ekaha, everything becomes merges into one. and the waves in the mind, which were so vividly described in the third verse, now they are all stilled. And oh, I worship him, I praise him. That's where else, what else to do but to praise and to worship when all becomes one. All right, fifth verse, also tremendous, beautiful. Atma Rupananji's translation is nice because he was here for so long, and now we're reading his translation. Pure, radiant light, from whom the gloom of ignorance has gone, beautiful as the lotus white, whose roaring laugh reveals the light of knowledge, who is realized in the self-controlled heart by undivided meditation. May he, the swan shining in the lake of my mind, protect me, who am prostrate before him. Galitatimiramalah Shubhratejah Prakashah Dhavala Kamala Shubha Jnana Punjatahasah Yam Janardigamyaha Nishkalam Dhyayamanaha Pranatamavatu Mamsa Manaso Rajahansa Pranatamavatu Mamsa Manaso Rajahansa. So here, Shiva is likened to the Rajahamsa. Oftentimes the Hamsa, the swan, is also it's a symbol for the self, the supreme self, the Paramahamsa, the supreme self. And this Rajahamsa shows Shiva is likened to the Rajahamsa, which is what? Swimming in the Manasaha, in the lake of our mind. Shining in the lake of our mind. This complete works translates that line as, may that lordly swan of the limpid lake of my mind guard me, protect me, prostrate before him. Pranatam, prostrate. Pranatam avatu. Avatu, may he protect. Me. Sahana vavatu. Avatu, may we be protected together. Here, avatu. Pranatam, I am bowing before him. Avatu, may he protect me. And he is that Rajahamsa, that swan in the lake of my mind, before whom I bow. So it's beautiful. So let me read Swami Ashokananda's translation. He whose thunderous laughter is the flood of knowledge. This idea of the Jnana Punjatahasaha, this tremendous laugh, which is associated usually with Shiva, that Shiva's laughter is knowledge, is jnana. And he's laughing because it's Ananda. The nature, our true nature is Ananda. The nature of the divine is Ananda. So who will not laugh? Sri Ramakrishna was laughing all the time. So Shiva's laugh itself is knowledge itself, whose roaring laugh reveals the light of knowledge, or whose thunderous laughter is the flood of knowledge, or whose laughter loud sheds knowledge luminous. These are our three translations we have of this line. Whose laughter loud sheds knowledge luminous. And likened to a beautiful white lotus, shining, this light. He whose thunderous laughter is the flood of knowledge, he from whom all darkness is dispersed, who manifests as white radiance, who is beautiful as the white lotus, he who is indivisible, who is sought in meditation, he who is realized in the heart of men of self-control, men and women of self-control. May he, that lordly swan of my mind, protect me. May he protect me, who am bowing before him. So we see throughout this hymn is returning these themes of um, salutation, of bowing. It starts with Om Namah Shivaya. I salute, I bow down to the all auspicious Shiva. Om Namah Shivaya. And again, on the one hand, I'm bowing down, I'm praising, I'm seeking to love, I'm receiving that embrace of infinite love, which puts to naught this world itself. And let's look at the final verse, the 6th verse. Master, destroyer of all ills, who lifts the stain of Kali, the Kali Yuga, to whom Daksha's daughter gave her hand, lovely as the white water lily, prepared to give his life for the good of others. To him, Nilakanta, whose benevolent gaze is ever fixed on the devoted, we bow. This interesting, this Daksha's daughter gave her hand. You'll see the first line is Durita Dalana Daksham Daksha Jadatta Dosham. So Daksham also means the destroyer of, so he's the destroyer of the Durita Dalana, that mass of ills, and then also Dakshaja, the daughter of Daksha, Sati, Datta Dosham. I don't know why it's Datta Dosham, how that means she has given her hand. I haven't yet found the proper translation of that, but let's chant it now. I'll chant it, and then we'll read the other translation. Durita dalana daksham daksha jadatta dosham kalita kalikalankam kamrakahlarakantam parahita karanaya Pranavichedasutkam Natanayananiyuktam Nilakantham Namamaha Natanayananiyuktam Nilakantham Namamaha. Of course, so it ends again with this Nila Kantam Namamaha. I salute where we salute, not I salute, Namamaha. Namami, Namavaha, Namamaha, we salute. Nila Kantam, the one with the blue throat. And what is the significance of Nila Kantam? This sacrifice, this self-sacrifice. Before the gods are turned and the demons are turning the ocean, and before they get the Amrita, this poison comes up, which is going to kill everything. And Shiva sacrifices himself. He's ready to take that poison, and he takes it and holds it here. So his throat is blue. So Nilakanta, his blue throat, symbolizes this tremendous sacrifice, this tremendous eagerness, readiness to save all, to protect all. So again, it reflects his love for all beings. And also there, Parahita Karanaya, Parahita, for the good of others. He is ready to sacrifice his life. Prana Vicheda Sutkam. Him who destroys sin and removes the dark stain of our age, whose benign eyes watch over all who have surrendered to him, who joyously sacrifices himself for the good of others, whose throat is blue from drinking the poison intended for others. Him, lustrous as the white water lily, him I salute. So this is this beautiful Shiva Stotram, in which we get a glimpse of Swami Vivekananda's relationship with Lord Shiva and his, obviously, his tremendous devotion for Shiva, and ending with this idea of sacrifice, which he himself was. He himself held himself as sacrifice. He sacrificed himself. Why did he leave his body before reaching age 40? The tremendous work he did for the good of humanity. And he calls on us also to live for others, not to live for ourselves. That is the true expansion of heart. So that ideal of Shiva here expressed in this beautiful way. Questions, comments? They used to observe Shivaratri. The tradition of observing Shivaratri in our order started in the, I'm not sure, did they observe it at Kashipur? Possibly they were at Kashipur during Shivaratri. They must have observed it that night. And afterwards, every Shivaratri, they would keep awake the whole night and worship Shiva with, of course, the rituals of pouring the milk and the curd and the ghee and the honey, but also with song and dance. And that tradition continues even now with at Belur Mutt. It goes all night. They start at 6 p.m. and when they finish, the sun is coming up. And it's tremendous. And Shiva comes, and there's actually Shiva with his Nandi and Bringi. They come and they dance at each arati. And the brahmacharins, they train for a month to do that. And then they're made up, and you really feel like Shiva is coming and dancing in the temple. It used to be that many of the monks would also dance with them, so it was a tremendous thing. And then they found that so many people dancing in the temple, the temple wasn't built to handle many people dancing, like soldiers crossing a bridge. They have to break their march, and they have to just walk normally. If they march across the bridge, they'll break the bridge with all the feet. So the temple was showing some cracks in the foundation. So then the engineer said, oh wait, you can't dance. So all right, those three, Shiva and Nandi Bringi, they can dance, but you can't have all the monks also dancing. You'll break the temple. So, in fact, they used to worry in Baranagore when they would dance upstairs. The landlord apparently was worried that they'll break the floor. So it can happen. But because with the worship of Shiva, there's connected this sense of austerity. You fast the whole night, 24 hours, and those who really are strict, of course, they do the nirjala fast without even taking a sip of water. And Shiva is the Lord of yogis. He's the ideal of sannyasins. At the time of sannyasa, we put the bhasma on the forehead, the three stripes of the bhasma, to recognize this connection with Lord Shiva. And the mantra we chant while putting the 3 lines is the Mrityunjaya mantra. Triambakanyajamahe sugandhim pushtivaranam urvarukamiva vandana mrityorvukshiyamamrita. So, and yet, here we find this description of Shiva as so attractive. He's also, we have to remember, he's also the Ashutosha. He's very easy to please. So it's said that just if you fast a little and you offer a few leaves and little water, Shiva is pleased with that. That little sacrifice that we make, Shiva is tremendously pleased, and we receive his blessing. We can receive that embrace of infinite love and find the fulfillment of our life. So thank you for giving me the chance to go through this beautiful hymn with you, and to think about Shiva and as infinite love, and to think about Swami Vivekananda's adoration of Lord Shiva. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna